This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, along with fellow Manchild, Johnny Karlic.
Ultimate power.
And we are here for the Rick and Johnny podcast, your one-stop shop for entertainment, movies, TV, comic books, superheroes, Marvel, DC, basically everything under the two nerdy suns. And we got a jam-packed show for you guys. First off, Johnny, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker got the first trailer. We got to look into it. We got to talk about this. I mean, once it released, it was like, well, here's an easy opening topic to our show. We're also going to be looking at Titan Season 2, as we do have a Batman casted. We'll be looking at that and kind of what his role will be in Titan Season 2. Also, what to kind of expect from Titan Season 2 as a whole. And then we're going to come back to Disney. We start off with Disney on Star Wars. We're going to come back to Disney at the end. We know for sure now, Johnny, that Disney Plus, what it's going to be, what it's going to have, when it's going to release, and we're going to talk about, will it be the new king of the streaming world when it releases after 2021. But little housekeeping here at the beginning. Make sure to first off check out patreon.com/most valuable podcast. That's where you can go help support us. Our big goal for this year is to get out of the current box that we are in. It's about what? Like, how big would you say this room is? You're the guy that's good with measurements and stuff.
Yeah, because, I can eye this. I don't know. Is this a 10 by 12 room?
Yeah, maybe a 10 by 10, 10 by 12 room. It's basically a little box that we recorded, and we're looking to get out. So make sure to go over to patreon.com/most-valuable-podcast to help us.
Please let me out. I'm begging for help. I'm screaming for help.
Please let me out. We have a bronze level, we have a silver membership, and then we have the gold memberships. Each one has their own thing, like Discord server. Or you can be a part of our Discord server. You can get mock drafts early. You can get the MVP podcast early. A ton of cool stuff. Go ahead and check that out down below in the description. But Johnny, let's move on into, or let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, and that is Star Wars Episode 9. Usually we kind of save it for the meat and potatoes in the middle. We have an appetizer at the beginning. No, this is big enough news. We need to talk about it now. The trailer dropped. The title dropped. It's not one of those where we got a trailer and then it's like, ooh, we still don't know what the title is. No, we know the title is going to be The Rise of Skywalker. I will ask you this. What was your first thought after watching the trailer when it released?
I mean, it looks good, but it's like my first thought is Rey Skywalker? Or do they mean Kylo Ren because he's Skywalker blood?
And that's the two things where we were, so yesterday.
Or Rey fakes someone else's death.
That one makes no sense at all. The case is closed. Or the case is still open until I solve it. But basically, that's the two things where I was immediately in the first thought of, Rise of Skywalker. Especially with there's a scene in the trailer where she hugs Leia. And it's like, okay, is she hugging Leia because of is she hugging Leia because of everything that happened with the, obviously, Leia is in with Star Wars 8 and everything that happened there. Yeah. Or just, do you know her? Or, hey, I found out that you're my mom. That's aunt. Number one. Or aunt, either or. It could be either one. Or is Rise of the Skywalker meaning, and this is what I think Mark or Sean said yesterday as we were recording, is it about Kylo Ren and his either descent into becoming Darth Vader, the guy he looks up to, or him, and I think we talked about this, last week when we talked about a possible theory of Rey and Kylo? Like, does Rise of the Skywalker mean that Kylo Ren is going to turn away from the Sith, the darkness, the Darth Vader role model, and come into the light, and then boom, the Skywalker is back, because technically Kylo is A little bit Han Solo, a little bit Skywalker, all in one.
Yeah. He's got still Skywalker blood is why
Mm-hmm.
what we're going with. So
Here's another question I've got for you. Big meat and potatoes one, too.
yeah.
Palpatine. Many people are saying, why was his laugh at the end of this trailer? What were you thinking?
I mean, I heard the first time I saw the trailer, I didn't get to listen to the sound, so I didn't even know there was a laugh there. When I watched it again, I know there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, it was Mark Hamill's laugh." I'm like, it sounds less like the Joker laugh.
I thought that, my first thought was that. I was like, did Luke Skywalker just Joker laugh us? Like, that's confused. And Dave gave me one of those looks, like, how can you be this stupid, Ricky? And then I was like, Palpatine? He goes, yeah, Palpatine.
That
like,
was Palpatine's
like,
laugh.
how the hell, like, he gave me that look like, how the hell, how dare you say evil Skywalker laugh before Palpatine's laugh? To me, I heard Luke's voice throughout the trailer. I assumed that laugh was Luke also, and did not expect it to be Palpatine's laugh.
Some people forget too that Luke basically ghosted himself at the end of the number 8. So
Yeah.
I would highly doubt it's him. But we did not see in number 6, Star Wars episode 6, that we didn't actually see him die. He got thrown over the edge by Darth Vader, and then that was it of him. I mean, they're talking about I think it's retconning is the term I'm looking for. Episode 6 as well. It's like, do you need to? Couldn't you kind of explain that? Like,
You mean episode 6 or episode 8?
episode 6.
Okay.
So that the Emperor's alive, possibly. That's
All
what.
right.
That's if they're gonna retcon 6, that would be my thought of what they're doing that for. It's like, you don't really need to retcon it. You just need to explain, like, hey, Luke survived a long fall in number 4. Was it 4 or 5?
5. That was
5.
The Empire Strikes Back, because
When
that was the whole scene of Vader cuts his arm off. Then it's him finding out Vader's his father.
Yeah, I couldn't remember that was 4 or 5, but he falls down that long chute.
And then Luke, no, and then he falls.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, well, what was I going with that? It's
That
like,
basically we didn't see him.
we
die.
didn't see him land. We didn't see him hit anything. We didn't see.
It wasn't like what we watched before the podcast, where I was like, "Did Mace Windu technically die?" Oh yeah, he did.
He did.
He got He got hand cut off, which I was like, "Oh, he can come back from that." Electrocuted. I'm like, I don't know if he can come back from that.
Not just like pushed over the edge. He got thrown.
Yeah, he got
like
shot out of, like, electrocuted out of the window, to where I'm like, yeah, he did.
he did.
He did for sure.
Not a lot coming from that. Whereas Darth Vader, as he was being electrocuted, just kind of dumped him over the edge. So it's like he's not necessarily dead. We didn't see him die. So
And kind of one theory that I'm looking at is, and this one comes from Screen Rant that I'm looking at, is they say the Star Wars 9 theory, and everyone's going to have this thought, Palpatine, their article says Palpatine never existed. It was always Dark Plagueis. Because ever since the first, as I kick my tablet cord, ever since the first of this trilogy, so episode 7, Dark Plagueis has been more of a name. I know we heard about him in different Star Wars.
I think it's number 2 or 3.
I never heard people talk about him actually being a major player until this one. Like, actual major player in the movies.
Yeah.
Until this trilogy that we're in right now. And the thing that they kind of map out in this is, number 1, they kind of say the thing you said is, the only problem is the last time audience saw Palpatine, he was falling down the reactor shaft in the second Death Star, where he burst into blue electric energy. However, as he alluded to Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith, he learned mastery over life and death from Dark Plagueis before killing him. And they say here the information that we get from or about Plagueis, the most of it comes from the mouth of Palpatine, where he says, let's see, they've got, did you ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It's a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise he could use the Force to influence the midichlorians to create life. He had such a knowledge of the dark side that he could even keep the ones he cared about from dying. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. He became so powerful, the only thing he was afraid of was losing his power, which eventually, of course, he did. Unfortunately, he taught his apprentice everything he knew, and his apprentice killed him in his sleep. It's ironic he could save others from death, but he couldn't save himself. And the whole thing now that this theory goes into is, so that story, we are to believe that Palpatine was the apprentice of Darth Plagueis and killed Darth Plagueis. Or, because the thing is, he was afraid of losing his power, did Darth Plagueis kill Palpatine and somehow, some way, took on the Palpatine image, and this whole time, Palpatine has been Darth Plagueis.
I mean, he doesn't have to take on his image because we don't know what Plagueis looked like.
True.
So
basically, is Palpatine really Darth Plagueis?
Potentially. I mean, it's not that not the fact. Doesn't necessarily mean it could be wrong. Maybe it was like a Luke. How do you describe it? Luke Kylo situation when he was gonna felt Kylo going to the dark side and was about to kill him and didn't. Maybe this was the master actually went and killed his student.
Yeah.
Or like vice versa. He went to go kill Plagueis and Plagueis killed him anyways.
Yeah, because what they have here is also what I just said, kind of like a half-truth kind of thing. And they go, so if the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise is a half-truth, maybe the apprentice did kill the master, but it was Plagueis taking over the body of the apprentice to kill his own aging self, assuming the identity of Palpatine before the events of Star Wars The Phantom Menace. And the whole thing could be possible because of a rigid adherence to the rule of two. And the thing that plays into it is, I mean, with me, that is kind of like, I don't know what's going to be for true. I don't know if they're even, like, it could even be like episode 7 where, like, oh, Plagueis is the one talking to Snoke and stuff. And it could just be, nope, it was not. And that's the thing. But it's like, that is an interesting thing to throw at the end of this trailer. It's just, hey, we're going to have Palpatine's laugh at the end of it. Because if anything, Darth Plagueis did know life and death. However, the whole thing, he can keep other people from dying, but he couldn't keep himself from dying. Or
like you said, he taught everything to his student. So I mean, that doesn't mean that Darth Sidious, I think it was, right? Palpatine,
or
could be dead. Doesn't mean he's dead.
Could I throw this out there? Could have Darth Plagueis learned how to manipulate the rule of two?
Explain.
So that he could, so what they have here is, so let me find the exact thing I'm looking for here. So basically what they're going at is, so you have the rule of two. Yeah, so as Star Wars lore would have it, the rule of two was established by Darth Bane after infighting nearly decimated the Sith Order. The rule of two ensured that this kind of self-destruction wouldn't happen again by maintaining that there should only ever be two Sith in the galaxy, a master and an apprentice. No more, no less. The rule of two seems like a reliable system until you consider Plagueis' power over life and death could have enabled him to manipulate the rule of two to ensure his own survival without any real Sith competition. Instead of training an apprentice who would have eventually killed him, He instead could have trained apprentices who he would eventually possess, killing his old body and continuing to live in the body and identity of his former apprentice. So it's basically him going, hey, you're my apprentice. Then instead of you killing me, nope, I'm taking over your body, killing myself and taking over you. So it's this like lineage, but he is passing himself down through these people so that he never dies, but his old body is gone. That's why, like, it makes sense to the fact of, because Palpatine was the Senate, and he was basically had so much power. Why people weren't, like, after the whole Plagueis Palpatine thing might have happened, why people might have said, hey, why do you look different? Because people would have known what Palpatine looked like.
Yeah.
Before he rose to the power that he was at in the prequel trilogy. Does that make sense?
I mean, I'm not sure what your point you're trying to make, because I mean the fact is that
Palpatine, it's Palpatine's body, but Plagueis is the one pulling the levers, and it's Plagueis inside the body of Palpatine.
Yeah, but I mean, you talk about basically a face swap. That doesn't make, just because we watched in the video earlier, but when we were watching Mace Windu's death. That the reason his face morphed is because he basically electrocuted himself.
No. I'm not talking about that part.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, go back to Palpatine and Plagueis.
Yeah, which we've never seen, but we just heard about. The person
that we've seen as Palpatine is Palpatine.
Yes.
But the person on the inside of that body, like pulling all the levers, is Plagueis. That's what I'm saying. Since the beginning, because before the Phantom Menace, it's not like Palpatine just, boom, I'm here and I'm at the top of the Senate. He'd had to have put in work before then, while even training with Plagueis, to grow to that power. If anything happened where Plagueis was like, oh, I'm just going to take your spot, people would look at it and go, no, why do you look different? Like, people would know who Palpatine is, so that Plagueis would have to take Palpatine's body so that no one knew it was someone different on the inside pulling those levers. Kind of like a possessive, like Palpatine being possessed kind of thing is what I'm going with.
I get sort of what you're saying. I think I'm not just getting how you're describing it.
I'm probably describing it wrong, like weirdly.
Because you're saying like people are like seeing him, like, no, let's drop that because no one we know has seen Plagueis.
Yes.
But
what I'm saying is Plagueis had to do it this way because if he killed Palpatine, oh my God, how do I continue with his power? Because people would be like, oh, Palpatine is dead. So he had to possess Palpatine's body to continue to grow to the power that Palpatine is at. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not anything in depth. It's not anything super. We're just getting caught in semantics here.
Yeah,
I'm
I just wasn't understanding what you're saying.
Very off. Here's another thing I want to ask you.
The thing I was going to say is the only thing we haven't, the closest thing we've seen anything like that is when someone uses the Force to kind of manipulate an outcome of someone's thought, like thoughts. Hey, these are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing we think. So, I mean, it's not saying that that's wrong. It's just like we've never seen anything like it. So I don't know if Star Wars would go in, like, if the Force goes that in depth of, I can basically mind swap someone and become, like, take over their body. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just like, well, we've never seen that. So I'm curious. I'm not like, not saying I'm not on board with it, but it's like, I wonder if there's more legible.
And let's be completely honest.
Ideas.
Everything that we talk about, anyone else talks about, 99.9%. There's a 99.9% chance
we're wrong.
We're wrong. And that it's not going to be anything like this. Last thing I want to ask you is, this is kind of a topic that came up yesterday between some of the MVP crew.
Okay.
After watching the trailer, do you think there is a problem with, let's say you were any movies you want. You've created a trilogy for yourself, Johnny.
Okay.
You wrote a trilogy.
Yeah.
And you want to get directors for the 3 movies. Do you pick the same director for all 3 movies? Or do you switch it up and have maybe 3 directors, 2 directors, but different directors for each movie. Which way would you go?
I guess
same throughout or different throughout?
I guess that all depends on how well the movie did with that director, but I would try and get it to be the same director through all 3, so we can have one kind of continuous flow. But like if let's say he did the first one and this one it did awful, or not actually awful, but like low enough to where it's like it makes you worried. Because if you did awful, you wouldn't make the second or third, right?
Yeah.
I would think that like you know what, maybe we should switch directors, and like if it did low enough, go hey maybe we should switch directors and try someone else.
And the thing,
but like if it did well and we did the like one, I would just keep it all one director.
And the reason why I asked that is this entire month there's kind of been rumblings from it, where maybe episode 9 is gonna retcon. That's why when you brought up retconning, I brought up episode 8 because there's a thought that J.J. Abrams with 9 is gonna retcon 8.
Really?
Because let's be honest,
I didn't hear that one.
Like for me, you're either on 2 sides of the boat with Star Wars episode 8. I didn't like it. If you go back to our review, I was not like, I was like, give me 7. You gave me 7, and then you gave me this. It was like, what are we doing here? And there's articles here, like I'm looking at. Rian Johnson doesn't care if Star Wars 9 retcons The Last Jedi. J.J. Abrams admits Rian Johnson took Star Wars 8 in a different direction to where here's the biggest thing I wonder with episode 9. Are we going to get to the end of it? And at the end of this movie, are we going to be looking at it going, man, I kind of wish they would have just let J.J. Abrams do all 3. Like, are we going to get that feeling where it's like we got a great movie for 7, which, I mean, let's be honest, the biggest knock is that it was A New Hope light. But it's like, I didn't have a problem with that. It took A New Hope, put some new things on there, established the trilogy. Are we going to look at it, it's like, wow, 7 was really good, 9 was amazing, 8 was a dud. Like, are we going to look at that and go, man, I wish they would have just let J.J. Abrams be the director for all 3?
Maybe briefly people might do that, but I mean overall it's like if you're gonna be worried about 9, just be worried about 9.
I mean, but 8, the things that happen in 8 play into 9.
No, that's true. I mean
we're not going to talk about 8 again, but let's be honest, the whole thing with like the whole plan of like, hey, we're going to do this. No, you're not. And the whole like what am I thinking? At the beginning, when they were like, hey, we're going to do the self-destruct mission. And they're like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And she's like, no, we're going to do it anyways. There was a whole miscommunication that I remember when we did the review. I was like, hey, if they would have just done this, it would have been like, oh, I see what you're talking about. We're not going to do that anymore.
Oh, you mean you're talking about you didn't like when they went off and did their own little plan?
Well, the reason why they had to.
Yeah.
They had to because, I can't remember her name. Purple-haired lady.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I
was
don't remember her name
basically
either.
being stubborn and was like, no, we're going to do this. And it's like, fine, you're not going to listen. We're actually going to do it ourselves. But any final thoughts in the trailer, anything from the trailer you think we didn't talk about that we should talk about?
No, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about at the moment because it's just a very short trailer. Other than biggest point, I mean, is the laugh, like whose was it, and then Ray's. You can see Ray's been working on some more on her powers. So
she jumps a freaking ship.
She does. Which I wonder if that's. I think that's good. Do you think that's driven by Kylo, or is that just a random pilot?
Is it a random pilot, or is it like training?
It could. Oh, that's true. I didn't think it could be training.
Did some way like whoever she's training with? Did they get their hands on... Because she's a junker from originally. Did they, like... Because it's kind of... I mean, the red cockpit could be the design, but it kind of looks like it might be... Like, hey, we put it together to make it look like this. I don't know. It could be driven by Kylo. Because right after that, they look at Kylo. Here's the thing I'll ask you. Kind of one of the last things. we get a shot of the trailer of Kylo. I will say, badass way to stab someone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stab you with the side of it and not the actual
the long blade.
Long blade. But when we look at his helmet, it looks like he's carving red cracks into his helmet.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think he's doing that?
I almost thought it was like, was he welding? It looks almost like he could be welding it back together too.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I don't remember if anything actually happened to his helmet.
And are we actually getting, did I miss that? Are we getting a new BB-8 type of drone?
I'm watching it now.
Droid,
See
I should
if we
say.
get, because they got.
Yeah, right next to him, it's the little wheel with the green.
I know, I'm waiting for it to pop back up because I don't remember
I had to go back.
Was
I was like, it was right after the Kylo stuff. But no, kind of, yeah, because here I'm at the part where Leia hugs Rey.
Unless that's just something moving while BB-8's moving.
It's like, are people going to fall in love with this new droid? But yeah, no, and then at the very end we get the laugh and then Rise of the Skywalker. So this is where you guys come in, so let us know what you guys think down below. Anything we talked about, anything from the trailer that came to your mind that you want us to talk about, let us know about that too, because we will, anything you guys are like, hey, how about this? We've had plenty of times where people have commented stuff and it sparked a new topic and we talk about that then on a new podcast. So let us know what you guys think down below in the description.